significance of it is it is nonverbal, and it's outside of the realm of language, and that's what's so transformative. I'm taken into a different world.
I agree with you completely. I love that getting out of the realm of my mind, because I'm so in my head. I'm one of those people that lives in my head, and so I loved being dragged out of there.
The terms that come into my mind are healing touch and loving touch. Because I do think of touch very much as a way of healing both myself and the other person. I think all of us need touch to thrive. People say we don't get touch when we're babies, but babies who don't get touch, in a very basic way, they just have failure to thrive. So, just that nourishing, loving touch is so important for us as human beings.
I think for me, presence is what is like the common thread through it, like all the different scenarios of touch, whether it be touching a lover or a patient or a friend. The intention may be different in all of those forms, but if they're done with presence, then for me that's what brings in the sacredness. That you're really there when you're touching.
The nature of the intention is basically to honor the person you're touching, or to, as we say, love the person you're touching, or to connect with them in a positive way. There is no intent to harm. There's no intent to use or abuse or to take advantage of.
Think of it as our first language. I mean, when we first came out of the womb, the way we were touched, we immediately knew whether we were being loved or not. It's built into our nervous system, I think. And so it's a very, very, very primal language, and it feels to me like it's so important that we maintain our fluency and develop it and keep using it, the language of touch.
I read a book about 2 years ago. I think it's called The Connection Chemical. It was all about oxytocin. Not Oxycontin, which is that addictive drug, but oxytocin is the chemical that they used to think was only flooded through the system from a mother towards an infant during the bonding process when the child's first born. But now they realize that everybody produces this chemical, and what it does is it's called the cuddle chemical because it's the chemical that comes from touch. You also get it from singing, and it's very calming, and what it does is it equalizes other neurochemicals in your brain system, especially dopamine, which is the one that can cause addictive cycles, right? So there's actually scientific evidence, and to prove that there's touch. I mean, the right kind of touch, of course. I think it takes 15 minutes of being touched before the body starts to produce this chemical that calms the person and makes them more present.
If we invite someone, be with me, I'm bringing myself, I'm bringing all of me, and let us share. It's a sharing.
I often have friends that ask me, what if you're doing, when I'm going to workshops or doing massage, and they say, well, what if you're not attracted to the person who you're working with, or even repulsed by them? And my first workshop, and I say to my friend, I say, it just wasn't an issue. And it goes to what you were saying, that it's not about the body, it's not about sex, it's the essence of the person, and that's what you feel.
Sacred touch was quite powerful. It was quite a release. It felt like I had been seen for the first time in my entire life in a way that I never have, and it was intimate and it was truthful and very emotional, but just someone's fingers caressing my back and then them standing close to me, it felt like for the first time I was actually being looked at and seen. And it was, you can't quite explain it, but like it was just very, very powerful experience.
Working with massage partners, it started to feel a kind of like an energy circuit, to find an analogy. When I first started massage, it seemed like I was getting a lot more from the receiving. And I think that was just sort of the healing process. But recently I've found that working on a person, and if they're receptive, then I find that the energy comes feeding back back into me, and there's this kind of crescendo of healing energy that seems to be building.
Been really influenced by Eckhart Tolle, and in fact, having done this touch work for so many years, when I read him a few years ago, it helped me get even clearer when I'm in a touch situation, either with a friend or a client, that really all I need to do is be present. Because it feels like we move into this, the other person, I move into this kind of a space or a bubble of loving energy, and we're both in it. And it's not, even though I'm the one who's ostensibly doing and the other person's receiving, we're both in this bubble of energy that's nourishing me as much as it is the other person. So.
Before we started the group, when you had us do the hand on the neck and the back, just that was so powerful to get me here and grounded, because getting here and the day and all of this stuff going on through my head and all, so I was very aware of that. I love that circle, and it definitely felt like I was connected to everyone else too by doing that. So yeah, simple and powerful.
So many of the activities during the day seem to put up barriers between people, and I was just enjoying as the evening progressed how the barriers would slip away with each exercise. A few more barriers came down. It became easier to connect with people on a very basic level. Yeah.
I'm struck by how intimate we have been, and how quickly we dropped away from our own lives, our busyness, our who we were and what we do out there, and how we just simply very quickly ended up in the spirit, and then followed your instructions, and very joyfully, like children at play, moved into something that was play, but was very, very intense and serious, and to me that's the pathway to intimacy.
I could say one thing is just a quick note that I've done a fair amount of things, exploring myself and being, and it's like nothing else for me. It was the most direct and just the most raw in a good way. It was the most impactful, I think, thing that I've experienced so far. When we were at that workshop, it was the most sacred thing I've ever experienced in my life, and that, yeah, it's just surprisingly impactful and beautiful and wonderful.